I know the Oscars aren't for like another 4 or 5 months, but I'd like to go ahead and preemptively express my disgust at them for not nominating this for anything when, dear God, should it be?
Oh, yeah.
Because you know they ain't gonna nominate this for shit. But, God, this is an easy contender for my favorite film of the year.
Yeah, this is intense, but in a good way. Like, wow, holy crap.
Okay, let's do the intro first.
Yes.
Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
And I'm Sho.
And this is the 31 Days of THORGIWEEN, where all month long we are reviewing horror films. And this is a post-geek out reaction for Get Out. Now, if you have never seen a post-geek out reaction before, it is not a technical review where I come in here, think of everything I want to say, and give you a score at the end. This is just an open, honest discussion about the thing that we just watched. And we literally just watched this. I know I'm a huge horror junkie, and this is like one of the best films of the year, and everybody's been praising it. But I literally had not seen this until now, because you can back me up on this, and so can anyone that lives in Brooklyn. The movie theater situation in Brooklyn is freaking awful. It's terrible. In the huge wide span of Brooklyn, there's like one theater down in Coney Island, one in Bay Ridge. They just opened the Alamo Draft House last year, which is nice, but it books up like immediately. Like you gotta reserve tickets ahead of time, and I just don't like reserving tickets. So the only theater left for all of Brooklyn, like one theater here, Alamo there, everything in here, where we live in, there's one theater. And that theater, it was playing Get Out when it came out in February, and it was sold out. Okay, wait a couple days. Sold out. Wait a few weeks. Sold out. It played until June when it was coming out on DVD, and even then, every showing of it was sold out. So it eventually got to a point which I was like, I have gone so long without being able to watch this. I'm just going to wait till it comes out on Blu-ray and then save it for THORGIWEEN, and it'll be my special little treat. That movie that everyone says is one of the best of the years, I will wait until then to talk about, because then I will have an excuse to make a video about. I'm glad I waited so that I can make the video on it. But holy God, you guys weren't kidding on this. I've had almost a year of hype behind this thing, and it didn't disappoint. Because, yeah, I'll admit, this thing has a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes because one asshole out there gave it a bad review. Armin White, we all know who you are. Which Armin White, by the way, for anybody who doesn't like follow film critics, Armin White is a guy whose opinions on film are so bizarre. People have openly accused him of just being a troll, like of having fake reviews. Like a good example is he loved the Power Rangers film, hated Logan. But like that, if you go on Rotten Tomatoes and like check out his score compared to like the score that everyone else gives, it's almost the exact opposite every time. So I was like, okay, that guy's insane. We all know that. But it did put that thought in my head, oh God, what if I'm that one guy who doesn't like it? I'm not. I love this freaking thing. Holy crap. Yeah, so I don't even know if we're going to go into plot on this thing, because it is so fresh in our minds. I will just say, as soon as this thing opens, I started with the joke about how, oh, the Oscars won't nominate, but it should be. Although that's not really a joke, because goddamn, this has to get directing at least, if nothing else. Although
I just kind of find it messed up that the only time like the Oscars would nominate like a film about black people is when black people are like fighting for their rights and everything. So.
This, in all fairness, this isn't quite like the Civil Rights March.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
This isn't like a slavery. Well, actually, it is kind of a slavery film. But I mean, yeah. Typically, films starring black characters are only nominated when it is like a historical film about like actual like black people who had to go through actual discrimination. It's never like an original screenplay, which is one of the reasons I'm saying they won't nominate it for this. But I'm also saying that because like horror doesn't get nominated. Like anything that is like a niche genre film doesn't get nominated. Like occasionally they will throw sci-fi a bone just so that they can say, look everybody, we did it. We're not giving it any awards, but we did it. Like, they raised the number of films for Best Picture up to 10 just so they could put that one film in there each year and go, oh, look, we nominated it. Now, never giving it an award. In fact, in all honesty, I could see this being that, like, 10th film that they nominate for Best Picture this year just so that they can say, we did it. And Best Picture goes to generic movie about guy from 1940s. Yeah,
like,
I'm not a fan of the Oscars.
It's like, oh, hey, look, we nominated them. Aren't you happy for that?
Yeah, that's how the Oscars rolls. But like I comment on how it should be, and one reason I'm saying that is because when this movie opens up, I immediately looked at like, this doesn't feel like most horror films. There's something different about it, and then it hit me, oh, they shot it like a good film.
Yes.
And here's the thing, horror movies, don't get me wrong, I love horror movies. I would not be doing this entire month of horror movie reviews if I didn't. But I will gladly admit, a lot of them are made to just be popcorn throwaway films, or they are made super cheap with no real care put into them. And sometimes that works. Sometimes they can make the cheapness actually work for them. And this is a, what is it, Blumhouse? Is that who it is? Yeah, I think so, yeah. And they're known for giving films no budget. So I'm sure this thing had, I'm sure this thing had a very low budget. But back in like the 70s, horror films would be shot exactly as well as like award-winning like big major dramas. Like the same amount of care would be put into horror films that were put into those. Like, you know, you go back and look at like The Omen, Rosemary's Baby, like all those kinds of films. Like they actually took time and care to try and make these things work. The Exorcist, how did I forget that one? This is like one of the first times in the modern era that I have seen a horror film in which, like, as it's opening, I'm looking at it like, this is really shot like they are trying to win awards on this thing. This is shot with care.
Yes.
Like there is that scene where like he's just staring at the dead deer in the forest, and it is so just like, a horror movie doesn't do this. A horror movie doesn't linger on a shot like this just so that they can like have emotions. And well, I mean, they'll try, but they won't succeed. This is succeeding. It's odd to me. So yeah, that was the first thing that I really just had to notice about this. Like, oh my God, this is just being shot well. The people making this knew what they're doing. And it's not even that, like, the score in this is freaking stunning. The score in here is amazing. And again, it's a Blumhouse film. They don't have budgets. And I just thought, how much money did this music cost? Like, you know, people out there like looked at the script, they looked at like what was going in this film, and they were like, we are willing to work for cheap on this because we want to be a part of it. And yeah, it shows. But also the acting in here is so, like I mentioned, like it definitely deserves a nomination for directing, but the main guy, the protagonist we followed the whole time, I'm awful with names, so apologies on that, but the protagonist, dude, that guy can cry at the drop of a hat. I was looking for like machines hooked up under like makeup under his eyes to just like start leaking water or something, because like nobody can cry that well. That is insane. But he just has the best expressions, like the most pained, like suffering looks on his face.
It's like this, I feel like this is how people would actually react in these sort of scenarios, and not like in actual, like in like horror movie dumb
they would
cheesiness.
Look, like most people wouldn't like scream out. They'd be too horrified to like move, especially when you're in a situation where you realize nothing can help you. And
it's like another is like what they say is like, oh shit, like instead of just like staring off into space, like
that moment was like the biggest release valve of the entire movie. I always say like horror movies need to put in there like one good joke just to like release that tension at one point. And there is a like jokey side character in here, but
Chris is the name of the protagonist.
Protagonist, okay. But there is like that jokey side character in here, but he's there for
and that's
jokes.
Rob. Yeah.
And he's there for jokes, but he's not there for that one good laugh, which is what I always call the release laugh. That one laugh where it's like, oh, thank God somebody said, like, and that moment came when he was sitting at this party and they're like looking at like the one other black guy there who's dating a white woman 30 years his age, and he is just dressed insane. Like he's dressed,
old-timey clothes.
Old-timey, yeah. It's like, even for like these 60-year-old white people, there's no reason they would be wearing that. And then he just, actually, it looks like what 60-year-old white people think would be in fashion today. So it makes sense, actually. But then he goes up, like, he just has an interaction with him, and it's so bizarre. And then he goes up to these other white people, and you see him just go, like, showing himself off. And Chris, after all this time of having this look on his face, like, you know he wants to say something, but he's holding it in. He's like, which I was like, dude, that's one of, like, the best performances, like just that face is one of the best looks I've seen in any movie this year, because it was like, you know exactly what he wants to do, but you know he is way too nice to do it. Mm-hmm. And it's that moment where after he sees him do that, he goes, what the fuck? And I was like, thank you. Because the whole audience had been thinking that. And it was like, oh, man, that felt good to get out there. Although I will also say, I loved Robin here.
Yeah, he was great too.
He was great here because he also kind of served that role, because there's that moment in which, listen, even if you hadn't seen the trailers, even if you hadn't heard the reviews, if you just went into this movie cold, eventually it would get to the point where you would be able to tell what is going on in this film. You'd be able to tell that the mom of the woman he's dating is hypnotizing black people to be slaves for these people. And there's a moment in which he's like, yeah, I mean, it's such a crazy thought. You know you wouldn't want to think it if you were in that situation. And Rob just comes in here and full-blown says, you know that's what they're doing. You know that's happening. And he was so the voice of the audience in that moment. Because you know that audience was like, how the fuck have you not figured this out yet?
It's like, it's not like slaves either. It's like, they're literally like putting...
That's...
It's
like pod people.
Yeah.
Or Stepford wives kind of stuff. Yeah, it's like, which, man, that is something, like, when they revealed that's what they were doing, that was one of the things I was like, that's one of the, like, not even, like, problems I had with this film, but, like, questions I had, which I love so much of this film, but there's, like, that, every now and again, there's, like, one thing here was like, wait, how is this? And that was the one thing in there where I was like, wait, it's revealed that the maid and the gardener are this woman's grandma and grandpa, and I was like, why on earth would you put your grandma's brain into the woman who you're going to make clean your house? Why would you put your grandpa's brain in the guy who you're going to force to chop wood for the rest of his life and like mow the lawn every day?
I guess it would like make more sense than have like a random person staying at your house.
The way that I see it is like, if you wanted to tell me that the guy at the party who the one who I can't remember his name, but the guy at the party who he meets and he gives the what the fuck moment to, if you want to tell me he has brain put in there, like he was being pod peopled, I would be like, okay, that makes total sense. But then like also just say like those other two people, like the maid and the gardener, just tell me they're like hypnotized, like they're just complete robots. That would make more sense to me. Like it didn't make sense to me why you would put your grandparents' brains in like the people you would be forcing to like clean your house for the rest of their life. That just seemed kind of odd to me. But yeah, it is revealed that like they are going to put this blind art critic's brain into Chris's body because he is like a famous photographer. And like there's a great moment earlier on at the party where he is talking to him and he's like the one guy who gets it. Like he's that one guy when everybody there is acting so fucking bizarre and every word out of their mouths to this guy is just like, oh yes, I know this black person, are you like that black person? Or yeah, which is stuff that's happening in this movie.
Like, oh yes, I was into sports, I bet you're into sports too. And the woman is like, so is it true what they say about black people?
Fucking weird. And the thing is, like, I have had black friends tell me, yeah, that's like they say stuff like that. And I was like, fuck, man. Oh, God. I'm reliving like lost memories here. I have seen actual relatives of mine say stuff like that to people. And I'm like, oh, God, no. Like, I remember I was at a wedding and like my uncle said something like very ignorant racist to like a Hispanic person, and it was very much just kind of like, why like he wasn't trying to be racist, but he was just like very racist, trying to get along with this guy, and I was just like, oh God, why would you do that? And so watching this movie now, I'm just like, yeah, they captured that, they nailed that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, let's go ahead and point out the big elephant in the room, which is that this entire movie is about race relations. It is about like the treatment of black people. It is about like not even like big racism, but more just like casual racism.
Yeah.
Like the fact that like
casual racism that eventually goes too far.
I think any racism kind of goes too far.
Pretty much, yeah. But it's like
let's go ahead and
enslaving black people and brainwashing them.
Let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room, which is that we're two of the whitest people on earth.
Yeah.
So there is a whole other layer to this film that we are not going to be able to experience. That whole other layer of like a first person, like actual real relations that you can have with this film that we're not going to be able to get. And I can only imagine how fucked up that is. So yeah, I just had to go ahead and point this out. This film, it has to be hitting a whole other level with people out there who have actually had to live through stuff like this.
It's like what I find like really interesting is like even though like the white people actually are being racist, it's like they're not saying that black people are inferior. They're saying, oh, we use black people because of their superior genetic genes, and it's like that's.
Man, there are these film critics out there who I absolutely love. Double Toasted. And I'm actually going to put up in the card up here a link to their review of this. It is absolutely worth watching because, like I said, there's a whole other layer of this film that we're not getting. The Double Toasted guys, it's 75% of them are black. Like, it's 4 guys and 3 of them are black and 1 guy's white. And in their review, throughout the entire review, the 3 black guys kept turning to the 1 white guy like, I'm glad you like this movie, but you got to understand, there's something in here you just ain't getting. So, yeah, I'm going to put a link to that. It's totally worth watching. But they summed it up perfectly in which they said, to all the people out there who think that this is about, like, the really racist white people out there, no. This is turning to all the white people who are like, yeah, time to turn on those racist white people because I'm not like them at all. And it's turning to them and going, nah, you're kind of still like them and you don't realize it.
It's like you're still stereotyping black people, so it's still bad.
Yeah, like the dad in this movie like says, I would have voted for Obama a 3rd time. And it's one of those things where it's like, this is a movie that turns to people who say stuff like that and treat that like it's their I get out of racism free card. Like the people who vote for Obama, it's like, well, that clearly means I'm not racist. And like, you can still be really fucking racist. And that's what's so brilliant about this film. This movie is ingenious on so many goddamn levels. Sorry, I had to pause because suddenly we just heard music out of nowhere and we had no idea where it was coming from.
Oh no, someone's getting hypnotized! Ah!
Which I gotta say that. Man, I mentioned there's like, I'm looking at this very much from an outsider point of view, but just speaking at this and in terms of horror, I have mentioned over the course of the years I've been doing all these horror reviews, all the different things that freak me out. The Woods freak me out. Ghost freak me out. Like space freaks me out. There's many different things that freak me out. One that I have never mentioned, but is a big one for me, hypnotism actually freaks me out. It is a super like niche thing. It's not something that you find in lots of horror films.
But it makes sense because like
it scares the shit out of me.
Because you don't have any control of your body.
That's anything, man. I read Goosebumps a lot when I was a kid, and there were so many Goosebumps books where a common theme there would be losing control of your body. Like something would be happening to it and you can't stop it, which considering that those were made for kids about to go through puberty, I actually wonder if that was actually done on purpose. I didn't realize that until right now. But yeah, those always scared the hell out of me. So ever since then, any kind of like thought of like, you don't have control over your body has been something that has terrified me. And it never really comes up in films, but man, it is done so well in this movie. Like the very first time that he's hypnotized and you see him like, first off, again, I can't believe this is a Blumhouse film because those shots of him like just sinking and then just him being trapped in the sunken places they call it. Man, those look so damn good. I was shocked that like, again, this must not have had a big budget because of who was behind it, but the people working on this knew what they were doing. But those scenes of him actually being in the sunken place, that feeling of like, you can see like that hope is way up there. You can see like the real world is there and he's down there. He cannot escape. He can't get out. Yeah, that's always been like something that's terrified me and it's done so well in here. I also gotta say like going into like the end when like the art critic guy is talking to him about like what he's going to do. He's going to put his brain in there so that he can get his eyes. And he's saying like, you'll be a passenger in there. It's like, man, you knew exactly how to sum this up. Like that's exactly my fear. Being a passenger inside your own body is terrifying to me. Which I never even finished talking about the guy at the party, the art critic guy. They set that up so well of having that guy come in there and it's like, hey, he's the one guy with like actual like common sense, I guess,
Like
at this point.
the most normal
The most normal one. Like the one guy there who everybody else is so weird to him, and every word out of their mouth is just, oh, you're black? Oh, well, about this thing. Well, how about this thing? How about this thing? He's the one guy who actually talked to him like a human being, just like a person. And he talked to him about like his passion and stuff that he actually enjoyed. And like he started talking about, yeah, I'm famous. I own an art house, but I understand it's very interesting being a blind art critic. But also, I used to try and take photography. I submitted to National Geographic 14 times until I realized I just didn't have the eyes for it. Man, that goes back into like he wants to take this guy's body so that he can not only like see, he can also have his talent. He can be that famous photographer. Man, they set that up so damn well. Everything in here is set up incredibly well. Like even the deer being hit at the beginning of this, when you find out the story about his mom and about how like she got killed in a hit and run, man, that goes back to why he was so obsessed with that deer.
Also, like, the deer was, like, a symbol later on as, like...
It was, yeah. That came back. It actually kind of made me think, how weird would that be if that was, like, the same deer? Because, like, they were asking questions about that deer at the dinner party. I was like, what would happen if they went out, found that dead deer, and, like, put its head up there just to get, like, a primal memory going for him?
No, but, like, the deer he hit was a doe. They had a buck...
Okay.
A buck's head up there.
Fair enough.
Which would make sense.
Yeah.
Considering what he had to do.
Yes. We'll get into that in a little bit. I don't want to jump right into that part. Because there is so many good things in here. I think the mom, again, she really only has one scene to show off like her acting range when she's actually hypnotizing him. But she's a damn good villain in that one scene.
It's like, usually, like, you know, when you think of hypnotism, you think of, like, the swinging watch. But it's like, with her, she just stirred a spoon in her teacup.
But it was also the way that she spoke to him. Like, the way that she was like, can you hear the rain? Like, and then you slowly start hearing the rain, which the sound editing in here, really damn good as well. God, this deserves a nomination in almost every damn category. And it's going to get none, and I'm so mad about that.
Maybe we could hypnotize the Oscars.
The Oscars already are asleep. All right. Okay. Enough talking about the Oscars. We'll save that for next year. I don't know. Anywho. So yeah, but also the other person in here, I would honestly nominate the lead actor for Best Actor. But I would nominate for supporting actor the lady who played the maid, just for that one scene where she's trying to break free. Again, hardly says a word. It's all in the face, but God, is that so good. She was, again, it's one scene and just the face, but it was enough to make me go, put her in tons of things. Put her in all the things. She's that damn good.
Like, there's nothing, but you can feel everything.
Yeah.
Like,
let's see. The brother I kind of found to be a little too goofy, but I get that was his purpose. Also, I get he's the child of like spoiled rich people.
Yeah, and that's
I get he probably turned into that. But also, it sets him up so well. Everyone in here is set up so well for what happens at the end of this film. Because, God, you wanted to see it happen. And I will say, I dig the turn with Rose. That was the girl's name?
Yeah.
Okay. I dig the turn with Rose. The only thing I didn't think about, this is the one, like, actual complaint I would have with this film. When he finds the big missing puzzle piece of this whole thing that reveals, like, oh, she's not ignorant to what they've been doing. She's actually been going out there and, like, tricking, like, black guys to come back to their home. Like, she's been going out there and dating one black guy after another just to bring them home so that then they can all get hypnotized. He discovers this just by when he's packing everything up, he sees a door slightly open and goes, huh, what's in there? Opens it, finds a box, opens it up, all the pictures are right there of, like, it happening. I was like, that feels like it could have been introduced a little bit better. That's my only, like, concern. I like the puzzle piece, because it's a really chilling moment when he sees it. But it was, like, after everything else in here had been set up so damn well, he discovers this just by going, huh, what's that? Oh, God. Like, that's the out of an hour and 44 minutes. One scene is my only complaint with this film.
But still, the reveal is really awesome.
It's such a good
that's the thing. There's really good reveals in this movie.
Yeah, because right after that scene, he closes the door and she's standing there in the hallway and you jump. You go, oh, fuck. Which, speaking of the best reveal in this movie, this is how I know how good this movie is. I make sounds at movies a lot. I try not to do it in the actual theater, although I
Yeah.
will occasionally say things under my breath, as you can attest
Yeah.
to that. But you never do. You never make sounds at theaters. You will laugh, but I mean, that's pretty much it. The reveal in here in which they're playing bingo, and it's the weirdest game of bingo I've ever seen, in which they're just holding up their cards, and he's just making, like, and I was like, what the hell is he doing? And then the camera slowly pulls out, and you see a big photo of our protagonist right there. Both of us just went, oh! That was the gut drop moment of this movie. That was the moment where we sank into the couch.
Like,
there.
what would have happened if, like, Chris actually joined the bingo gang?
Oh, I think that Rose, like, remember, right before it, she went, I think we're gonna take a walk. Oh, really? Yeah. Again, that's the thought that you have before you see that reveal. And you're like, oh, she's in on all this. Oh, fuck her. Yeah, she is almost more evil than the rest of them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all evil, but I mean, like, she's the one who I was like, no. You need to curb stomp her one extra time in this. Although that was one thing let's finally get into that.
Yeah.
At the end of this, man, one thing about horror films that you can't help it as an audience member. You're always going to look at a horror film and go, well, why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? It's like, it's just natural. And I always cut horror films a little bit of slack because I'm like, well, you're sitting in your comfortable chair. You're not in that situation with like third person perspective looking around you. You wouldn't know you wouldn't think to do all this. You'd be freaking out. You wouldn't be able to come up with these ideas. Like, we just saw for the first time last night. Spoiler for an upcoming review. And there's a moment where like he has to reach a phone, but he's like hooked up to a chain. He's like hooked up to a pipe, and like Jigsaw wants him to saw his own leg off so he can reach the phone. And all I could think was, the hacksaw is long enough that you could use it to grab the phone with and pull it back, you idiot. So yeah, that's just an example I had to get out of the way right now. But the way he gets out of this, he is trying everything to get out of this chair that he is strapped down to. And again, in my mind, I was like, well, why don't you like use your teeth to try and open up? He immediately does that. He immediately did it the second after I thought that. So smart. But then you see he's been in there a while and he's just been grabbing at the chair. Yeah, and he's like pulled the cotton up, and then he looks at the cotton in the couch. Stuffing. I don't know if like couches actually use cotton. I always assume they did, but
like
stuffing.
Polyester or something? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know what it was. But it was the stuffing inside. And when he went down to grab it, that established in the audience minds, he can get his head to his hand. And then he pretends to like go into his sleep when they try and hypnotize him again. And it's then revealed he took the cotton out of it and stuffed it in his ears so he couldn't hear the sound in it. I was like, that's fucking... I would not have thought of that. I would be dead in this situation. The protagonist is smarter than the audience, which is so rare in a horror film. But at the same time, it's not like a magical answer that came to him. It's something that if you were really smart, you could have thought of that. This dude was smart. Yeah, this is such a likable guy too, because he's so freaking smart. And that moment like really like cemented that. But then after that moment, it's the big, like, him getting revenge. Like, him just going through the house, just beating the crap out of all of them.
And trying to get the fuck out of there.
Trying to get the hell out of that place. That was the one thing that, like, man, again, this guy is smarter than me. Because Rose was still alive in that place at the end, and he just gets in the car and drives off. I would have been like, no, go and kill Rose, But I was like, no, that's the smart thing, is get in the fucking car and get the hell out of there. Now. Get out at the first possible opportunity. Smart. I would be dead in this film. I would be absolutely dead because I'd be like, no, I have to make sure they're all dead. Yeah, she would have probably murdered your ass if you came up for her. Get in the car and leave. The first opportunity you have to get away from the monsters, you get away from the goddamn monsters. But yeah, that is, when you actually see like the protagonist kill the monster in a horror film, it's always supposed to be like a cheer-worthy moment. I've never seen one that's as big of a cheer-worthy moment as this, because that guy suffered so goddamn much. I have never seen a horror film where the protagonist had to suffer this much. So when he finally got back at them, God, it felt good. Like, even when he goes into like superhuman mode at the end and he gets stabbed through the hand and he's still just staring at her as he fights her back, I was just like, I don't know if you can have enough adrenaline to pull that off, but I'm not gonna question it.
It's like, you just like, even if he is like low on adrenaline, you can just like tell by his face, like, I've had it with this shit. I'm done. I just want to get out of here.
It's like, nope. Man.
Nope, not having anymore.
That dude could have escaped from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre house and been able to take out Leatherface, because he was just like, I am done. And so, man, that is the thing. The audience was in him at that moment and just like, this is everything you want to see. And that's the thing. It's so rare for that to actually happen in a horror film. So many times the protagonist just gets away, or there's like a hint the monster is still alive at the end, like Friday the 13th. Like, it's like, yeah, that's a big cheer-worthy moment when she finally is able to use her dream powers to take on Freddy Krueger. But then at the end, Freddy comes back, and it's like, no, he wasn't gone all along. Spoilers for Nightmare on Elm Street. I think I said Friday the 13th again. My bad. In this one, man, there's no it's coming back. He takes them the fuck out. And when he hits like the douchey brother on the head with the ball, when he hit him a second time, I was like, he is showing amazing restraint, because I would have liquefied his skull at that point. I would have kept going, but he didn't. But they didn't do that, because he had to come back at the end. And when he first came back, I was like, how on earth are you still alive? And then I was like, it's a horror film. The monster has to come back once. Waiting, okay, I see what you did there. I'm totally fine with it. But the way he took out the dad is the biggest moment in that moment. Oh, we cheered.
Yeah, it's cheered. Like, the thing is, like, the dad, like, when they were...
Oh my god, I loved it.
Like, when they first came over to the house and they talked about hitting the deer, the dad was like, well, I don't give a damn about deer.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they're ruining the environment, they're a bunch of rats.
Well, in all honesty, though, I will say, I grew up on a farm. I'm on his side. Fuck deer. Deer are assholes. Deer are assholes of nature. I know everybody who didn't actually grow up in the wilderness is like, no, they're beautiful creatures. No, they're giant fucking rats. I hate deer. So I was kind of on his side. I did not think about how that came back.
Yeah, and then he gets impaled by the antlers on the deer's heads.
It's shot. So it's when the scene is shot just right. Because he comes out and it's like, man, I hope that he doesn't find our protagonist, because he comes out in the hall and he's got like a scalpel and he's got like he's all monstered up in like his like doctor outfit. Yeah. Like, he's actually looking like a horror monster kind of. And not saying doctors are monsters, I'm just saying like
Dr. Frankenstein.
But I'm saying horror, like slashers, always have to have a distinct look. Putting him in the doctor garb is like, now he has a distinct look. And he walks out there and it's like, oh god, can our protagonist get away from him without him noticing? The moment he walks out there and you're thinking that thought, protagonist just rams up and like impales him on those horns. It was the best goddamn moment in this film. Oh my god.
And it's like, you were mentioning like this during our Friday the 13th review, is like, why isn't this person grabbing this and hitting the murder over the head?
I have always said one of the reasons I don't like slasher films is because it's, again, it's hard not to put yourself in the shoes of the protagonist. And so often in slasher films, I will look at what the protagonist is doing. It's like, you could take out the killer right now. You could do this right now. You could run from the killer right now. Like, for anybody who didn't see our Friday the 13th post-geek out reaction, in the opening of that thing, there are two campers. One of them gets stabbed, and you see the other protagonist, the other camper, trying to like get away from the killer, and you just see them going back and forth, and their hand touches a like wheelbarrow tire like 3 times, like I was like, pick up the goddamn wheelbarrow tire and beat him on the head. You have range on this tiny little lady. You can do it. And even later in the film, when it's revealed it's the tiny little lady, there's a moment when she is like creeping up at the last survivor girl and just like, no knife, no weapon in her hand or anything. I was like, she's a tiny little lady holding no weapons. You are a decently sized teenage girl. You stand up, bam, in the chest, she's done. She is out. And in this film, goddamn, yeah, he just comes in and he does not play the fuck around. He is like, can I use this to take these guys out? I will use this to take these motherfuckers out. Like I said, it is so rare in a horror film for you, the audience, to look at this guy and go, he's smarter than me right now. Because I wouldn't have thought to murder him with the deer, but it was the best fucking option. Do it. Oh my God. Oh. But then the end reveal. Like, first off, I just gotta say, the ending in this, I love that there's two endings to this. The one that was made for theaters and the alternate ending, which we actually saw the alternate ending as well, which I don't think works nearly as well as the actual ending of this. Because in the alternate ending, he's got Rose down and he is strangling her, and then he does actually strangle her and kill her. Then the cops show up and he gets arrested and he's taken to jail, and he's like, I don't care, I stopped him. And he's like, I mean, it is really good commentary. I get the message they're trying to put in there. But there's good commentary in this ending as well, because this whole time, all these rich white people have been treating him like an object, not like a human being. And at the end of this, yeah, he just killed all these guys, but he killed them to survive.
Also, he didn't like kill Rose in this ending, like.
No, well, I'm saying in the ending we saw, he killed the family, but he killed the family to survive because they were going to kill him instead.
Right.
This is a moment where he doesn't have to kill her. She can't do anything to him anymore. But he is still choking her just to get revenge on her, just because of all that stuff that he's been through. But in the actual ending of this film, he then stops. He doesn't kill her because it was like, yes, you are a human being. You're not going to take a life if you don't have to. You're not going to become, just an object like what they wanted you to become. Like, I get that. That's so good. But the other great thing about this, you then see the cop lights come up, and my first thought was, oh,
yeah,
fuck. Because there's no way he's getting out of this. And then it's his friend, and the car door opens up, and it's an airport police car, and it's his friend in there, and he comes up there and gets him, and he rescues him, gets him in the car, and he says, how did you find me? And he goes, I'm TSA. We handle shit. And first off, that's great because they had been set up throughout this entire film. Like, he was like, yeah, man, I'm kind of like a detective because I'm in the TSA. I probably have the same training that the police do, probably even more than the police. And I was like, okay, so he's been setting that up. This was the time where he actually showed it. But there's no explanation. I gotta point this out. Even with that being said, there's no actual explanation of how he was able to find this guy. And I complain a lot in films about Deus Ex Machinas, about when the answer is just given to the protagonist. I point that out more than most people do because it's something that just really does irk me. And so I know a lot of people out there will be able to like point at this and go, well, that's kind of a Deus Ex Machina. They was just able to find him. As much as I hate Deus Ex Machinas, there is one time when they actually work. And the one time when a Deus Ex Machina is 100% okay, if not even encouraged, it's when the protagonist has suffered so much that everyone in the audience is saying, just give it to him. This is one of those films. This is one of those films where they put our protagonist through so much that at the end, when his friend shows up and the only reason he was able to find him is because he's TSA, it was like, I don't care. I am happy that he was able to find him. And in fact, the fact that that's the reason he was able to find him, that there is no real reason, makes it even better because it's kind of the universe going, you've had enough. Here is help. After all this time of no help. There you go. It's like, God, thank you. Oh my God. This film really, I gotta let it sit for a while. Because right now,
we're still on that high,
right now I'm still on that high. Right at this moment, it's my favorite film of the year. But as you guys know, Logan is also my favorite film of the year. And if you saw our post-out reaction as soon as we got home from seeing Logan, I was trying not to cry at that. So it's like, okay, gotta let the emotions die down a little bit. But at the moment, it's easily going to be in my top 5. There's no way it's going below that. But at the moment, I would be willing to say I can't see it going below top 3. This is insanely good. And again, fuck the Oscars because I know they won't give this any awards. They might nominate it for 2, maybe 3 things at most. I can't even imagine it getting that many. But I don't think it's going to win a single thing it gets nominated for. When, man, I can't pick. the fact that you pointed out so many things that it was referencing back to, that's the thing that I love. Like, Edgar Wright is one of my favorite screenplay writers, and it's because in every single one of his screenplays, you watch it for a second time, you will see stuff that you saw at the end of the film, in the beginning of the film, that you didn't even notice. You were pointing out that thing about the deer, and I was like, God, even that was set up. I didn't even think about that. Holy cow. We're recording this at like midnight too, by the way, which if you're wondering why I'm like whisper yelling this whole time, that's why. I would be so much louder if this was like in the daytime. Oh God, I love this film. I love it so much. Okay. Ah, damn. Okay. Oh man. Okay. Anything else you want to say?
I don't know. You pretty much said everything.
You know the worst thing about this? This is our last week of THORGIWEEN, and we don't have a theme for this week. Last week was viewer request week, so this week we're back to just the stuff that I felt like we needed to talk about, and this was a big one. I was like, I've been saving this all year long. I was saving it for this exact moment, but now I'm thinking, oh God, what else are we gonna watch? And I realize we have to watch the horror movies that are currently in theaters, meaning The Snowman. And Boo! A Medea Halloween sequel. I wish we had saved this one for last.
Yeah, me too.
Budge. Okay. Oh God. Also, the actors they got in here, like we point out, like I'm sorry, I keep forgetting the character's name. Rose, I only remember because it sounded like a supervillain name, and she was a supervillain there at the end. Like there at the end, that last shot of like her in that completely white room, just eating Fruit Loops out of the like, all I could think in that moment was like, is this what black people think white people do? And they're like, when they're by themselves, like just drink milk and eat Fruit Loops. Like
it's like, oh, we have to have our cereal separated. Segregation.
I don't like these Fruit Loops. All the colors are mingled together.
It's like, I don't like these colored Fruit Loops with my white milk.
Oh God, do you think that's what they were trying to say?
I don't know. I just can't.
Oh my God, this movie is smarter than we think. Fuck. Maybe that is what they were trying to say. Like, God, this movie's smart. Fuck. Okay, but yeah, because she was basically a supervillain there at the end. But I pointed out how good the protagonist is. That guy was great and deserves to be nominated for Best Actor. But Bradley Whitford, I think, plays the dad. I think that's his name. But he was a guy who I grew up loving all the stuff he did, and he never got into a lot of stuff. So I'm glad that he was in here. And the guy who played the blind artist guy, he was another character actor who he never gets put in anything good, but I've always loved him and stuff. Like, he is always such a tiny, like, joke character. And I'm like, this guy can do, like, actual serious stuff. How come nobody ever puts him in serious stuff? I'm glad someone finally did that.
There is, like, one nitpick about this movie, and it's the flash photography that takes them out of their hypnosis.
I kind of looked at that, too, like, how... This never... Like, this is such a common thing. You mean to tell me this doesn't count? Although... That was also kind of like a small complaint of mine, is that I was like, okay, he is a photographer, and the thing that snaps him out of it is photography.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I bet there's a message in there, like his talents, like his own like unique identity is the thing that frees these people from having their identities enslaved. That's actually kind of smart. But then he never actually uses his photography to do that.
Yeah, he uses his smartphone. The flash
he uses his smartphone. And I was like,
but I guess it's more convenient to use a smartphone because, like, if you're carrying around a giant, camera, it'll be a bit too obvious.
But I figured like that would be like that would be his boomstick there at the end. Like that would be like the moment where when he grabs the camera, it's like, oh, he is armoring up. He's gonna free all these people. Oh my goodness. But it does also explain that scene where he was like trying to take the photo of the maid and she quickly turned away. I was like, okay, well that's pretty smart. But it is one of those things where I'm like, are you sure that nobody would ever take these people's photographs?
Well, I don't know. Maybe like since they are kind of being abducted, there's a reason why they don't want to use their take photos.
I guess that also then they'd be far away from people who would be taking photographs of them.
Yeah.
But it did seem kind of like, it seemed like when the thing that frees them is the thing that he specializes in, and he brought along this own giant personalized camera for it. It feels like that should have been the thing that he like. It feels like they should have done something with that. So I do agree with you. Like the Flash thing, like again, I feel like there's kind of a message in there about that, about how it's like it's his identity, the thing that like made him special, that free these people from having their identity taken away. But I didn't really feel like they played that out as much. Yeah. So.
But yeah, that's something I can overlook.
Yeah,
so.
It's kind of like when he found all those photos there that just was the big missing puzzle piece. It's really kind of lazy to me how he found it. But fuck it, like, the second, it's a good reveal, and the second after he found it was a great reveal of her standing in the doorway. God, this film's good. Okay, I'm exhausted after talking about this. We've probably been going for like an hour solid on this. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Let us know what you thought of this in the comments down below. They are talking to Jordan Peele right now about directing the Akira film. And I kept dreading the Akira film because it had been one of those in production hell movies that had just been sitting there forever. I'm down. I'm all for it now. Let this dude do anything he wants. And I know he's a big geek, so I know he knows Akira. So I'm totally okay with it. But man, okay. I'm gonna look at my camera and find out right now that I didn't turn the mic on. I know it. I know we're gonna have wasted this entire thing, but I'm just gonna put subtitles over everything we said because I just have the energy that we had in this was so good. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. God, I love this film. Man, what was the last film this year that made me? I'm a massive Spider-Man fan. Spider-Man Homecoming didn't have me this like amped up after I saw it. But thank you guys for tuning in. As always, you can follow us on Twitter and Twitch and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy, and come back next time for the rest of THORGIWEEN. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Oh, and happy Halloween. That's how I end all these. I'm too excited to remember how I end these.